Welcome to Rock DIY or Do It You. If you do it, then it's all you.
This is a light bulb socket for an oven that's pretty dirty, a lot of buildup. This oven light socket is for a
Frigidaire.
Model number FEF368 GCE. Not that the model number really matters too much, but because these are very common for a lot of ovens. Now the price difference is pretty crazy for such a small piece. I've seen them from $24 to $68. In this case, I removed this oven light bulb socket and did an assessment of why the bulb stopped working. And I've narrowed it down to three things. One, it could be that the metal connectors have shorted out. That's easy to determine. If you see a break or the piece is missing, then it's no longer functional and you have to replace it. The other two things are the threads for the light bulb, and in this case there's a lot of buildup, which can cause a disconnect between the outside metal edge of the bulb socket that doesn't allow it to connect to the metal because of all the buildup inside of it. The other thing is that if the buildup is keeping the light bulb from going all the way down to the bottom of the socket, this little piece could be pushed down a lot, but this can be easily fixed by just prying up on it a little bit, and once you get it pried up, it'll allow the bottom of the bulb to sit directly on top of it. I'm not sure how old the oven is that this came out of, but I've decided that I'm going to attempt to remove everything that's on it using some different products. I'll stay away from the flammable type chemicals, only because I don't know whether this socket will absorb any of it, and definitely don't want it to catch fire when it goes in the oven. These are the two connectors for the wiring, and one connector is thinner as far as width compared to the other one. So when you do take it out, it's easy to determine which wires go where. This piece right here is what locks it into the wall of the oven. I'm going to start by using some Lime-A-Way CLR, let it soak, and see how much it breaks down all this junk that's on the socket. I could just let the Lime-A-Way CLR soak the socket, but in order to hopefully expedite the process, I'm going to use an old toothbrush to help break it down. I do recommend that if you're going to handle the socket while it's got the Lime-A-Way CLR on it, that you wear gloves and eye protection, especially if you're using a toothbrush to scrub it. You don't want to accidentally get the Lime-A-Way in your eye. Anytime that I use Lime-A-Way CLR, one thing you notice right away, if it's going to work, is you'll see a little bit of reaction when you put the item into the CLR. If you don't really see a reaction, it could be that it's going to take quite a while for the Lime-A-Way to soak into it and actually start doing anything. And after about 5 minutes of soaking, I can see that the CLR is reacting very well with the inside of the socket, and the connector at the bottom. As far as the rest of it, it's there's some pieces coming off, but not quite working too much, because the connector at the bottom and the threading on the side is all clean. I could just put this back in and I'm pretty sure the light bulb will work right away because there's no other issues with it. But because I did take it out, I'm gonna go ahead and continue to clean it. I'd feel much better about putting it in like new or cleaner than to put it back in just like this. Before I started this, I did attempt to scrape some of this stuff off the socket. It doesn't come off that great, but I think soaking it in the CLR is helping remove it. And then now I'm using a blade X-Acto knife to help remove it. It's coming off a little bit easier than just scrubbing it with a brush. Someone could ask, why don't you just use some oven cleaner, spray it on, and it should take it off. I found in a lot of cases when you do use oven cleaner, it doesn't always get everything off, and then that stuff that is left over seems to always be harder to get off. Besides that, I just don't like to use harsh chemicals, mainly because the vapors, it's an irritant, and ultimately I just don't like the smell of it. If you do have a Dremel, you could use the various bits to help you clean it up. Just be very cautious with the metal type bits because they will chip this ceramic socket. If you don't want to use any chemicals at all, you could just boil some water and put the socket in it. There are going to be some spots on the socket that are going to be difficult to clean, like up here, and then also down in these spots here, as well as under here. I don't recommend bending them out of place in order to clean them, because there is a chance that they could snap off. And I think that if this were to snap off, it'd probably snap off across here. You can't say without a doubt that one item helped clean this socket better or did better over any other. I do think the Lime-A-Way did help soften up the socket, make it a little easier to clean, but hot soapy water will probably work just as well. You could use oven cleaner. I just wouldn't recommend it. I did use a wire brush on the inside of the socket to clean some of the metal. I used an X-Acto knife to scrape off some of the thicker buildup. The small tip or small flat tip screwdriver helped get the spots where it was tight. Use the needle nose pliers to hold it. Soft toothbrush, it was good in the beginning just to make sure the Lime-A-Way was getting in all the nooks and crannies. The Dremel with various bits, I'd just be cautious using any type of metal bit because it will chip the socket. I did use this grinding bit on the outside surface of the socket, which worked pretty quick. Unfortunately, the grit on the bit does wear off pretty quickly. And it's probably dependent on whether you use fine, medium, or coarse type bits, and then used a clean rag just to wipe it up. When I get finished with all of this, I'll do a really good rinse just to make sure the Lime-A-Way is not on the socket anymore. This is the end result of cleaning this oven light socket in order to continue to use it, using a minimal amount of tools to accomplish it. But it came out pretty good. How it looks isn't going to affect how it works, but definitely makes you feel better to clean it up before you put it back in. Other than replacing or buying a new one, a little time and some patience, you can make something almost new again. I don't recommend trying to clean this as I've cleaned it while it's still inside the oven, because I'm pretty sure you're going to leave quite a bit of residue, cleaning chemicals or whatever you use inside the socket, inside the oven. It'll burn off, but you probably don't want that on your food. Pretty sure this has never been cleaned before. It's probably been in the oven for as long as the oven has been around, but with a little time and patience, you can pretty much get it to look new. Very last thing I did, just to ensure that there's a connection to the light bulb, is I pulled up on this piece down here slightly, just to raise it up to ensure that there's a connection between it and the light bulb.
Thanks for watching the video. I truly appreciate it. I hope this video motivates you to take on future DIY projects. There's nothing more satisfying than completing a project on your own. Please like, comment, or subscribe. Thanks again.